everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Achua. In the last couple of weeks, I have gathered so many fragrances. A lot of them have been in decants, but these are 24 size bottles I've gathered in the course of 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to do a separate video where I give you my thoughts about some of my samples and let you know which of them are full size bottle worthy or otherwise. But these are 24 size fragrances I have gathered in the last couple of weeks, and I want to just give you my summary, my summed up, thoughts about them, as well as rate them out of 10. So I'm going to start off with Club de Nuit Malika from Amaf. It's super viral. It's making the rounds. A lot of people seem to love this one. So do I. However, I feel this is a very simple, designer-esque smelling fragrance. It is nothing complicated. It's very mass appealing. It is a fruity, slightly floral fragrance. I get the fruit a lot more than the florals. I get the lychee, the bergamot, which gives a bit of a citric vibe. And I also feel it comes across as slightly tropical in a way. To me, it is not a very intense, powdery one. You get that orange touch, but it is nothing too powdery and chalky. It is a very beautiful fragrance, but I just feel I was probably expecting a lot from this. I don't mind this one at all. It's a very beautiful everyday, at work, date night. It can even qualify as a date night scent. I'm going to rate Malika a 7.8 out of 10. It's still a very beautiful, easy blind buy, easy reach. You can just apply it in the morning, afternoon, evening. It's very versatile. You can take it to the office, to your date night, hanging out with friends, weekend vibe. It's very versatile. It gives me slightly tropical feel and a lot more fruity than floral, in my opinion. So that is going to be my ratings for Amaf Club de Nuit Malika. The next is going to be a fragrance I'm not a huge fan of. I picked this one a couple of months ago, but I received it a couple of weeks ago, and that is going to be Celeste from Maison Alhambra. This, I'm not sure if I'm going to be pulling it out a lot, because in as much as I also would describe it as a mass appealing, designer-esque fruity scent, it is very fruity floral, just like Malika, but I think I prefer Malika slightly better than this one. They are not too far from each other, even in my opinion. But this, I'm not a fan of the scent profile in general. It's very basic, and there's nothing wrong with basic, very mass appealing, basic, fruity floral. But I don't see myself pulling Celeste out, for the most part. There are several other similar scent profiles I will reach out for before I reach out for Celeste. So for that reason, I'm going to rate it a 6 out of 10. I'm still going to wait on it to age and see, but at the current stage and what I'm smelling, I wouldn't necessarily call it a love. I think it is a like. It is not a very strong like. I think it is just a like. I will not dismiss this one, immediately. I'll still wait on it to mature for a while. But for now, Celeste is a very basic smelling, which a lot of people also appreciate. Maybe not necessarily for me, Yeah, so I'm going to give Celeste a 6 out of 10 for now. Let me move on to another one, which was compared to Zeste Lyra. I don't know why it was compared to that, because it doesn't necessarily give me Lyra vibes at all. This came across as very screechy Voux Zeste from Paris Corner. I think it was being marketed as an inspired by Lyra, but it doesn't necessarily give me that. In the same family, that lemon, gourmand, vanilla scent. Yes, in the same family. But this has sat for over 4 weeks. I still find it quite screechy, especially at the beginning. The dry down I really like. The dry down rather reminds me of Empire Victor, the newer formulation. It reminds me of that. But I don't necessarily get Lyra, and I know Empire Victor, the new formulation, has also been compared to Lyra, although I beg to differ. They smell different, they smell different. But Voux Zeste gives me more of Empire Victor vibes after it's going through some aging than Lyra. I like the dry down. I'm not a fan of the opening. It feels a little alcohol, it burns my nose, initial spray burns my nose, but I think the dry down is very beautiful. For that, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10 is a very, I'm just being generous here. Since I'm not a fan of the opening, there's something still quite screechy and harsh about the opening. It still burns my nose, when I spray and it gets close to my nose, it burns my nose, but it immediately subsides and I get to enjoy that lemon vanilla, creamy vibe. And that is going to be my take on Voux Zeste. I think a 7 out of 10. I'm being a lot generous to this, particular fragrance, but I think it is beautiful. I'm still going to wait on it for maybe 1 to 2 more months to see how it matures more and then probably smoothing out to the best of its ability. So let me go to Ramsh Diva, one of the latest from Zimaya. This is a very beautiful scent. I actually love this one. I really do love it. Although it's been compared to Vanilla 28 from Kayali, I don't necessarily think it is a spot-on dupe. Probably I would say it has a twist of its own, but this reminds me a lot more of Athena from Maison Alhambra. That Athena Angam from Lattafa. It gives me that vibe. I would summarize it as a combination of Vanilla 28 from Kayali and then Athena. If I can combine those two fragrances, still in the same vanilla sugar, floral vibe. There is some floral aspect about this that I don't get in the original Vanilla 28 from Kayali, and that is one of the most significant difference I find between them. That also has a bit of bourbon, vanilla orchid or something slightly boozy with the brown sugar, and this I'm not getting anything boozy. Nonetheless, this Ramsh Diva is a very beautiful vanilla scent, but it has more florals. It's not as boozy and not as dense as I find in Vanilla 28. And of late, when I tried my Vanilla 28, it gives me vibes of Amor Cafe from Mansera, so this to me is quite a deviation from the original Vanilla 28, but it the same family, vanilla, sugar, vibe. But I think, although I will not consider it a spot-on dupe, this is a very beautiful scent on its own. You can also layer it with several other fragrances. This I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoy the scent profile here. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be a very safe blind buy. If you like the likes of Vanilla 28, Angam, Athena, Burberry Goddess, that sugary vanilla, you're going to enjoy this one. And that is going to be my ratings for Ramsh Vanilla, a 9 out of 10 for me. I think it is really amazing. Next is going to be a fragrance I had a decant of, and then it's graduated into a full-size bottle. And this is an absolute 10 over 10. Portrait Oud from Arabiyat, known to be inspired by Alexander II by Zeste. This to me is a very clean, hands down 10 over 10 scent. Very polished, sophisticated, lavender, citruses, rose, palisandre rosewood. It is slightly woody, a hint of oud, very wearable, mass appealing Western oud in a way. It's more woody to me. It's more woody than oud, centric in my opinion. I love this one. It gives me compliments. I enjoy wearing it. I enjoy smelling it. It comes across as very sophisticated, dressed up, elegant vibes. No, it doesn't necessarily give me sexy. No, the original one gives me a sexy, bold, but this one does not necessarily give me sexy per se. It gives me rather, I would say, sophistication. That is the vibe this one gives me, but it's a very beautiful interpretation of Alexander II. And I think this is a 10 over 10 in my books. A 10, a wholesome 10 over 10. Arabiyat, Portrait Oud. Let me move on to Vanilla Drama. Vanilla Drama from Fragrance World. It's quite bold and quite in your face, although it mellows down, but the initial sprays feels very bold. And it's not your typical foodie, sweet vanilla. It's vanilla, but boxed with a lot of a lot of spices. It's very spicy, and then some woody nuances to it. It feels slightly more matured and, you know, grown up, and a lot more unisex as compared to Ramsh Diva, for example, which feels a lot more feminine. To me, this is an 8 out of 10. I love the scent profile. It's very matured smelling. You know, it gives me more of a very polished, sophisticated vibe, and that is going to be my take on Vanilla Drama. I think it is a solid 8 out of 10 to me. You know, you can dress it up. I don't see myself dressing this one down. You know, it's going to be hard to dress it down with jeans and t-shirts. No, but that's how I feel about it. Next is going to be one of my current obsessions, favorites, called Choco Court. You know, Choco Court from Paris Corner. It's a very beautiful scent. The only downside to this is the fact that it's not giving me longevity. Longevity wise, it's lacking a bit, but scent wise, it is very pretty, comforting, sensual, slightly musky. It is all about the note of orange and then chocolate or cocoa, you know. This is very beautiful. Gives me this very well blended cocoa, cacao, you know, chocolatey vibe with the oranges, you know. It gives me oranges. And then apparently there is bergamot and some coconut. I don't get anything coconutty, lactonic about this one at all. I'm going to rate this one a 9.5 out of 10. It is quite simple, very mass appealing, but it's just a very beautiful, delicious, you know, very delicious smelling, not overly gourmand. I like the fact that it has that oranges that breaks that stereotypical chocolatey gourmand. It makes it quite versatile in my opinion, and that is going to be my take on Ministry of Gourmands Choco Court. I think a deserving 9.5 in my opinion. So yeah, that is going to be my take on it. So let's talk about Romance Reverie from Paris Corner under the Ministry of Oud. This is a very beautiful scent. Do I say unfortunate or fortunately? I bought it blindly, and it reminds me of two other fragrances I already have in my collection, which are going to be Care Fusion, you know, Care Fusion from Paris Corner, as well as Pear Potion. If you could combine those two fragrances, I get that same raspberry lychee feel from Care Fusion, and then the juicy apple and pear combination of Pear Potion. That is essentially what I get in this one, with a little splash of oud, a very gentle, wearable oud. There's something much more woody and slightly oudy about this one that I don't get in the Care Fusion as well as Pear Potion. This is a very beautiful scent. It feels a lot more dress up than those two I previously mentioned. Those feel a lot more relaxed. It feels a lot more relaxed. Care Fusion, Pear Potion feel a lot more relaxed, you know, and much more versatile, whereas this one has something a little more dressy about it because of the note of oud, and you know that woody thing I perceive about it, or the woods, you know, it's like woody, slightly woody. There, it is not missing. You cannot miss it. You get those, you know, nuances in this, you know, fragrance. So to me, I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very beautiful scent. If I didn't have Care Fusion that I'm already familiar with, no Pear Potion, probably I would have ranked this one higher, but I feel like I'm sort of used to the scent profile a little. So for that reason, a very beautiful scent. You can blind buy this one. Just don't be scared about the oud or the woods I perceive in this one. It's a very beautiful scent, and that is going to be my take on Romance Reverie from Paris Corner, an 8.5 out of 10. Next is going to be Creme of Clouds from Fragrance World. This, I'm simply going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. One of the things I would have loved for this fragrance to be is not to have been a literal gourmand. I don't enjoy it when I wear it on its own. I always have to layer it with something because I just feel like it's too foody, coconutty, like a toasted coconut, you know, caramel, milky. It's a little too literal for me. I would have loved for this one to be a wearable fragrance on its own, but I feel like I need to layer this one, you know, and that is the reason why I don't mind layering at all. I don't mind layering, but there is something about this fragrance that I feel could have been made a little better. Nonetheless, it's still a very beautiful scent. If you are for literal gourmands, you might want to go with this one. I would have also wanted this to be a little more creamy, but I don't get as much creaminess to it. But it's a very beautiful fragrance, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And that is going to be my take on Creme of Clouds. So let's go to Golat Oath from Paris Corner under their new ministry of Oud. This is beautiful. This to me is a combination of Parfum de Mali's Altar with tobacco vanille. You know, I get that similar tobacco vibe, and then the spicy, boozy, bourbon vanilla vibe of Parfum de Mali's Altar. It gives me like a combination of those two fragrances, which is a beautiful thing. I think this is blind buy safe. It's going to remind you of those two fragrances, you know, it's going to remind you of both fragrances, but slightly more green. There's something slightly green about this that I don't find in the two I have mentioned previously. I don't know, but there's something a little green and slightly more spicy, just slightly more spicy than tobacco vanille as well as Parfum de Mali's Altar. Nonetheless, a very beautiful combination. You're getting those elements of, you know, elements of those two fragrances with the tobacco, a bit of, you know, smoky undertone, the boozy bourbon vanilla from liquid brand Altair, the spices, the cinnamon, the cardamom. You're getting all those in this one. I think this is going to be a 9 out of 10 for me. I enjoy this one slightly over the Romance Riviera, although it's also quite familiar and nothing new. It gives me a combination of tobacco vanille and then Parfum de Mali's Altair, but I think there's something that separates those two scents from this, which is that green vanilla undertone it has, and then that little bit of more spice, and that is going to be a 9 out of 10 for me when it comes to Golat Oath. And then I'm going to go with one of my favorite coffee orange combo. You know, it feels like coffee orange, although it's supposed to be sticky date from Lush, you know, dupe. I have not smelled sticky date, so I'll not be able to speak to that. However, I don't get as much date, the note of date in this one, as I do in the OG Camera, for example. Maybe it's a different date that they used, but this one gives me more of a coffee orange combination. It gives me more about that. It's very gourmand, but also very versatile because of the notes of orange I perceive in this one. It's sultry, slightly lactonic, just slightly lactonic. That coffee is well made. It doesn't feel like you're annoying, super realistic, and wearable coffee. It feels very wearable. You can wear it on its own. It layers also beautifully with molten caramel. I also got that one not too long ago, but this to me is a 9 out of 10. I'll consider it a 9 out of 10, and that is going to be my take on date caramel. It's a very beautiful, safe blind bag, you know, yeah. And this was a feel for me. Belle Dolce from Fragrance World. It's a feel for me. I'm not going to beat around the bush, you know. I'm not a fan of this one. It's supposed to be Zeste, Cora or Coro. I'm not familiar with that. This by itself is quite synthetic fruits, but nothing really stands out as to a particular fruit. I'm not getting any particular fruit I can associate with this one. It gives me a general feel of a fruity, musky, slightly powdery fragrance, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one, you know. I think I'm getting rid of this one. I just want to wait on it slightly, you know, for it to macerate, and then I can report after maturation. Probably I'll let it go because I can't see myself wearing this. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I wouldn't necessarily say blind buy this one. To me, it's not worth it. You know, no matter how cheap you find it, in my opinion, it is not worth it. And let's go to Shamoki by Fragrance World. This is beautiful. Shamoki is a very beautiful scent. It's been compared to Pink Sugar in several instances. I get that Pink Sugar comparison, but I think this feels less berry-ish. I don't get anything berry like the original Pink Sugar or the berries, you know. There are several renditions of Pink Sugar. They are all sort of berry heavy. This one does not have anything berry-ish, you know, like the raspberry, strawberries, like the original Pink Sugar. It's all about the sugar, the sugar in the vanilla that I get in this one, as well as something a little spicy oriental oud. If you love oud, you're going to appreciate this, although it's a very, like a light touch of oud. It's very light. The oud is not your animalic super heavy one. It is quite like a touch of oud. It's still there, I smell it. It's very noticeable. I get it. I think when it comes to that scent profile, the pink sugars, I would say it is in a similar family, but I will not necessarily say it's giving me 100% pink sugar. It will remind you of that, upon initial spray. But when it dries down, it gets to that sugary, slightly aromatic, oudy, territory. You get that oud aspect of it. It's very sweet. Although I think it is quite unisex. Whereas I consider the pink sugars a lot more feminine. This one, because of the oud, I consider it a lot more unisex in my opinion. And this to me is going to be a 9 out of 10. It's a very beautiful, mass appealing. If you find it, I know a lot of people are saying they cannot find it, but if you can find this one, pick it up. Chances are they're not going to regret. Chances are you're not going to regret this one at all, and that is going to be Shamoki, and it's a 9 out of 10 for me. And then I'm going to go with Venti Charisma from Fragrance World. This is an interpretation of Creed Camina, and to me, I think it's a very good, dupe. They did their best. It's not as intense, but it's a very identical, almost spot on, but it lacks in longevity, projection. It lacks in that, but I mean, it's a very affordable alternative. I'm going to give this one an 8.5, just because it's very similar to the scent profile, maybe about 85%, whereas something like this one, Cleopatra, is giving me like 95%, accuracy. This one gives me around 85. It's good. For the price, you cannot complain. But I think it lacks in, the projection, lasting power, although you can reapply, throughout the day. If you want to get something a lot more closer, you might want to go with Cleopatra from Hamidi, but this is a very beautiful scent, and that is why I'm going to give it a 9 and an 8.5 out of 10. The next fragrance is going to be Avant Silk from Maison Alhambra. This is one of the most viral fragrances, just because it is after or is inspired by one of the most popular Creed fragrances, Queen of Silk. So I've tried severally with my sample of Queen of Silk here. I think I've been in and out of love with Avant Silk. At one point, I like it. At some point, not a fan. Currently, I think I'm back to liking this particular fragrance. Although I'm going to say, in my opinion, it is not the most spot on dupe for Queen of Silk. I think I get something like the orange in Queen of Silk that I'm not getting in this one, Avant Silk. And the saffron in this one feels slightly more screechy. There's something about the saffron in this one, which is like the most dominant note I smell. I get that oudy touch a lot more in Queen of Silk than I get in Avant Silk. After going through some aging, it's had for about a month now, I can say I'm beginning to like it or appreciate it a lot more. There is something about the original one that I think I prefer or appreciate a lot more. In this instance, I'm going to give Avant Silk an 8 out of 10. I'm giving it such high mark because I'm taking it as what it is, not necessarily in comparison to the original one. On its own, after going through some sitting and maturation, I think it's a beautiful scent. It is not for everybody. Although this original one has a lot more oud, to it. I get the oud a lot more in the original Queen of Silk than I get in this one. But this is all about the saffron, and I think it is missing that orange blossom or the orange in the original one. So taking it as a fragrance on its own, I think it's an 8 out of 10. I really like this one at this point. I hope it stays this way or even gets better. But I think it is a beautiful scent that needs to sit. I think the key word here is sitting, maceration, and maturation. If you can combine all those things, aging, maceration, whatever the right term is, I think this one particularly needs to go through that, but after about a month or 4 or 5 weeks now, I am appreciating it a lot more than I did like a couple of weeks ago. And for me, I think an 8 out of 10 is fair as a fragrance on its own, in my opinion. So that is going to be my ratings for Avant Silk. Let me move on to Rayhaan fragrances. I received 5 full-size bottles from Rayhaan Ghana, the Ghana team from as PR. And before I did, I had seen a lot of Rayhaan fragrances, but I just felt it was hype, influencer marketing. I never really saw a lot of negative things being said about it. So I assumed it's one of those things. I just gave it, I was like, oh, it's an influencer marketing fragrance or brand. But I think I was wrong. I really think I was wrong. After receiving this one, I am sold. But in a way, let me explain. I think I prefer their masculine linen scents than the feminine ones. The only the only full-size feminine bottle I have is going to be Delihya. And I think this, among the other decants that I received, is the best of them all. This I actually love. This one is really a good one. Aside that, the other feminine linen ones I have tried, I'm not such a fan of, but all the masculine ones I have tried so far, to me, I 10. This is a very beautiful melon aquatic green scent. It feels like very light and airy, very mass appealing. It feels soft, gentle. It feels like one of those clean scents, the typical clean girly scent. It feels like that. It's very beautiful. It's lightweight, it's airy, it's very mass appealing, in my opinion. Delihya, I think it's very beautiful. I think of all the feminine ones I have tried, including Fiorina, and then Rayhaan Hair Aqua, this one really is the best of them all in that category. However, when we come to the male, the ones that are marketed towards the men, the 4 that I have, I'm going to rate them like 9.5 out of 10. All of them, including Cologne edition, which is the Halfeti dupe. This is a very beautiful scent. It even leans unisex to me. Leather, moss, patchouli, earthy. It feels like those heavy, leathery, earthy patchouli, mossy, slightly green, aromatic. That is how it feels, but it is so well done. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I'm also going to give the Rayhaan Lion a 9.5. No, I think it is supposed to be their interpretation of Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Mal. It's a very beautiful, spicy, aromatic, woody vanilla. It's very beautiful. My favorite of them is going to be the Rayhaan Corium. This is going to be your leather, aromatic, spicy, woody, slightly boozy vanilla scent. They seem very well done, very well blended. It gives me a very unisex appeal, although it's being marketed towards men. It's very beautiful. For me, I think you can safely blind buy, especially the male, the ones that are being marketed towards the men. I feel they are much more better. They are like premium. They smell very premium. My favorites being Corium, which is the leather. I think this is their interpretation of Stronger With You Oud or some leather, Stronger With You leather. Yeah, so it's a very beautiful one. And so is Rayhaan Elixir, which is the Jean-Paul Gaultier La Mer Elixir, I believe. This is a very smooth, seamless vanilla, minty, airy, sugary, sweet, vanillic fragrance. It has that masculine DNA, it has that masculine DNA. So I'm not seeing myself wearing this one, but it smells very good. It's well blended. It smells premium. And that is going to be my take on the Rayhaans I have spoken about. I think they are a 9 out of 10. They're just very beautiful scents, with the exception of the other few ones I will talk about that I don't think. I say go for the male ones. The male ones feel a lot more premium. They feel a lot more superior than the other counterparts I have tried from other brands. The male fragrances are premium. So that is going to be my take. And these are 24 size bottles I wanted to share with you today. I hope this video is not long. I'm getting 36 minutes now. Maybe after editing, we can do something around 28. But these are beautiful amazing fragrances, and I think my ratings for them is fair based on my experience and work test with them. And if there's any other developments, I'm actually going to feature some of them in my life after maturation videos and give you updates, like more in-depth updates about these amazing fragrances. And that is going to be it for today, and I hope this video found you well. So please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.